let's just talk a little about prison. Because one of the biggest things I learned from working with prisoners is that if they can change their behavior, we can. And that's what's really interesting. So let me tell you a little story. So when I worked in maximum security penitentiaries out west, and I used to teach life skills to offenders. And two offenders I worked with, one was named Mark and one was named Trevor. Mark was a short, little, muscular, red-headed guy, lots of tattoos. You can probably picture the type, all buffed out from all the steroids and a little puffy. And then there was tall Trevor, big, good-looking, muscular guy, again, lots of tattoos, black hair parted down the middle. Very cool guy. Everybody wanted to be like him. He was sort of like the Fonz of the jail. Fonz's Happy Days, for those of you that are old enough, not old enough to know what Happy Days is. Just putting that out there. Henry Winkler, you can Google it. Just saying, if you don't know who the Fonz is, it was important to me growing up. So anyway, I went into work one day and I spoke to my boss, Stacy, and she said, "You won't believe this. Trevor and Mark got in a fight the other day." And he pulled out a shank, and Mark pulled out a shank. A shank is a homemade knife. Crooks are very creative. They just don't apply their creativity in the right ways. So he pulled out a shank and tried to stab Trevor, and eventually they broke the fight up before the correctional officers came in. And they still got thrown in solitary for a while, which was fine, and they should have been because they did something wrong. And so I went back I thought, well, I'm probably going to have to talk to them after my workshop today, because they come around all the time to talk to me after the workshops. And I remember reflecting, though, before I was going to talk to them, I thought, I can't believe two people that really like each other would get into a fight. And I thought, oh yeah, it's just like at work, right? People you disagree with, you might get a little angered with. How many fights do you get into at home? Like, you're obviously not going to pull out a shank and stab someone, but you get into fights, whether it's over food, whether it's over this, or how you're going to spend your money on the front yard, or the kid. We all get into fights about stuff, right? Maybe not fist fights, but you get into fights. There's some similarity between what's going on with them and with us. They're acting it out in a different way. They're acting it out in a different way. So anyway, Mark and Trevor come up to see me after my workshop, and these are really good guys. They've done some bad things, but they're good people. So you got to sort of separate when you work in that environment. You have to sort of separate who they are from what they do. So of course I sat down with them, and I really want to know, why did you want to stab Trevor? Because we all want to know, right? Like, what's going on there? Why did you get into that fight? And, at work we do that around the coffee machine. Why did you blow up like that in the meeting? I can't believe you told so-and-so that. And, we all want to know the dirt. And so Mark says to me, he's like, well, Greg, Trevor was saying bad things about my friends and the people I hang out with. I'm like, that never happens outside of jail. And, he also stole my brew, and brew is homemade booze. So if you ever want to make homemade booze, don't do it at home. But you can, your green bins where you keep all your organic food. If you let it sit for like 3 months, it turns into alcohol. Yeah, and it rots your guts. So anyway, they make that in jail to drink sometimes. Anyway, he stole that from him, and if you're a smoker like I used to be and someone stole your last cigarette, you get a little angry. And so stole his brew, saying bad things about his friend. It was just being sort of miserable to me, he said. And I'm like, oh, that sounds like really awful. I said, I can't believe you just wanted to get up and stab him. He said, yeah, I did. And then I thought, okay, I got to do some solution-focused techniques, or I need to move into solutions. I need to get into my mindset of just not focusing on the problem, but how can I focus on some solutions to help them change their behavior? So I said, well, Mark, it was such a good thing that you didn't stab Trevor. What stopped you? What stopped you from stabbing Trevor? And he said, well, I would have had some consequences happen to me that were bad. Trevor's ultimately my best friend, and I was really, getting caught up in the emotion of that. Not that any of us have ever done that. And the other thing is that, I just really realized the outcomes wouldn't be good for anybody. I don't think he used the word outcomes, but it was, something like that. And I said, Mark, well, those are the skills I really want to build with you, because when you go out of jail, I don't want you going around stabbing people. I want you to continue reinforcing how you stopped that behavior. So you can use this sort of stuff with your kids too. It really works. So let's look at a couple of these techniques together. So to develop a solution-focused mindset, you might explore the ending to the problem. So remember I showed you the two graphs earlier around resilience? Some areas I'm change ready and have done it. Some areas I'm not. So how do I apply that? Well, that's how I can apply that. Explore previous solutions. When people come to me and say, I don't know how to do this, I can't figure this out, sometimes I want to just tell them, because I'm like you, I want to solve their problem. Sometimes I want to say something like, you know, you're able to complete the other 2 proposals on time, how did you do it there? And how can we apply it in this situation? See the difference in mindset? The third thing we can look at is explore exceptions to the problem. I did a big presentation, a keynote down at this conference I was at, I told you about. I had a woman come up to me after my 1-hour keynote on resilience, and she said to me, Greg, I'm always negative and pessimistic. So whenever you hear those extreme words, always, never, all the time, no one, you know, you probably, if you have kids, you probably hear, no one likes me, everybody hates me, all that sort of stuff, those big sweeping statements, they're not true. Whenever you hear always, never, no one, everyone, they're not true most of the time. Most of the time. So you want to explore the exceptions to the problem. And I said to her, I could have said, yeah, you're not really always negative, but I said solution-focused stuff. You're not always negative. Tell me about a time when you're positive and what's going on for you then. You see, I'm looking for the exception. You're not always like this. If someone's late for work, they're not always every day late for work. If they are every day late for work, that's a different dialogue. But if they're at work Monday to Thursday on time and late Friday, I would say you're not always late to work. You're here Monday to Thursday on time. What's going on those days, and how can we apply it to the Friday that you're late? So we're looking for that skill transfer again. Last but not least, amplifying the change. It's a great way to keep yourself motivated. So if prisoners can do it, we can do it. Okay? So when you think about where you're stuck, think about applying some of these mindsets. Viktor Frankl has influenced my work a lot over the years. And Viktor Frankl was a neuropsychologist and a psychiatrist who was incarcerated in Dachau and Auschwitz concentration camps during the Second World War. And he was a father of logos therapy, and logos is Greek for a word which means meaning, or future-focused thinking. And I often think of him as the father of coaching. And he found in his observations in the camps, whether it was with guards or whether it was with prisoners, that there were good guards that actually helped out the prisoners, and there were bad prisoners that actually hurt other prisoners. So regardless of their job title and their roles, there were good and bad on both sides of the equation, so he was really unlimited in his thinking. And he found that the people that were able to maintain a more positive approach, which does not mean roses and lollipops, because Lord knows I couldn't do that being in a concentration camp. I don't know about you, but I couldn't. It'd be really hard for me to maintain a positive approach. And he really found that even by focusing on little things on a day-to-day basis, when he got his dirty food and water, which was a dirty fish head in the ration of water, that he would be able to look at it and go, gosh, look at that eye on that fish. It's all the multicolors, they're so beautiful. One of the ways I tie this into my work now is I think about, and think about this for you. The little things that go on that can affect your day. Do you get out of bed and go, oh shit? Or do you get out of bed and go, I'm going to have a good day? Doesn't mean you're always going to have a good day, but it means you're more likely to respond and handle the bad if you focus on those little things. He said that everything can take him from a man or woman, but one thing, the last of human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given circumstance and choose one's own way. So, we don't have a lot of control of things often outside of ourselves. He also said when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. Sometimes you do have to change your situation by making that change. If you're really unhappy in your job and you hate your boss, sometimes you've got to make the choice and make the change. It's not healthy to be where you are. But it's about taking that control back and realizing that we can't control. I'm a control freak, so I want to control everything. I know none of you are like that in this room. But I want to control things. I want to make them right. And the reality is, I really just got to focus on my own stuff and try to shift my approach using some of these techniques. So remember a couple of things. If you're change ready in one part of your life, which you are, find out what makes you change ready there and apply them to the areas that you might feel stuck. Look for the commitment beneath the complaint. Good to acknowledge, you don't need to problem solve. See what the commitment's going on. It will move people down that fast. Use that slow listening to really help that person feel heard, because they'll feel like they're engaged in the change. Shift pessimism to more realistic optimism. Most of the time our reactions are not grounded in any reality. They might be from one experience, but one experience does not define our whole life. Big ones can, don't get me wrong. But the small day-to-day stuff that we deal with, that are our upsets, that are our hassles, don't need to frame every single response that you have. Last but not least, use solution-focused techniques to develop that mindset that you're looking for solutions, not just staying stuck in the problem. Sometimes we need to be in the problem, but sometimes we need to step out of it and move that person down the path. The research shows you pick something too simple to work on, put it into practice, do it over and over, you'll do really well. So go forth, be great, be a catalyst for change, everyone. Thank you.